In the opening shots of Desperate Housewives, Wisteria Lane appears impossibly tidy, an immaculate suburban enclosure where lawns, edges, and pesto houses form a picturesque oasis. But like many idealized suburban landscapes built in late 20th century America, it hides what cultural theories call the architecture of gender performance. Behind the white fences and freshly painted doors lie anxiety about identity, domesticity, and the pressures placed particularly on women to appear perfect. Desperate Housewives isn't just a comedy drama, it is a satire of urbanized suburbia, a critique of how the domestic spirit constructs gender roles and how women negotiate identity under the surveillance of an entire community. Urban scholars such as Dolores Hayden argue that American suburbs were designed around the notion of the nuclear family, embedding gendered label directly into an architecture of the home. Wisteria Lane visually enforces this tradition. The space itself is a character, one that rewards conformity and punishes deviation. Take Brie Van de Kamp, for example, whose public identity is inseparable from the suburban ideal. Our compulsive domestic perfection isn't simply personal preference. It is a performance shaped by what Judith Butler calls gender performativity. The idea that gender is constructed through repeated acts that society expects and rewards. When Brie polishes silverware for the third time in a minute, she isn't cleaning, she is reasserting her role as a perfect suburban wife. The space of Wisteria Lane, neighbor watching, judging, whispering, turns domestic work into a theoretical performance. The show uses the suburban streets as a pantycon. Everyone sees everything, everyone has something to say. Brie's identity is shaped by the ideology of suburban womanhood, which Laura Mulvey described as the idealized feminine spectacle. Our immaculate house, corrected wardrobe, and rehearsed smiles function as extension of patriarchal expectations. She is both participant and prisoner of her role. In one pivotal dinner scene, her husband and children revolt against a perfect table setting. The mise-en-scène, neatly folded napkins, symmetry, polished cutlery, visually contrasts with the emotional disintegration at the table. Domestic order marks psychological disorder. Urbanization in this context isn't just about houses and roads, it's about urbanization of the mind, a social conditioning that tells women that maintaining a perfect home equals moral success. Brie is the suburban fantasy until she isn't. Gabrielle Solis disrupts the suburban scripts, whereas Brie performs control through domestic order. Gabrielle performs identity through sexuality, beauty, and rebellion. In an environment designed to domesticate women, Gabrielle resists by weaponizing the male gaze. Her affair with John Rowland through ethical fraud is framed by the show as an act of rebellion against suburban suffocation. She is a former fashion model trapped in a neighborhood that prioritizes kitchen over careers. The lawn mowing scene perfectly encapsulates suburban satire. Carlos attempts to discipline Gabrielle into a traditional wife role, but she subverts the expectation, performing the chores in designer heels. It becomes a performance of defiance, mocking both masculine authority and suburban roles. Gabrielle demonstrates that gender roles in suburb spaces are not only assigned but also negotiated, twisted, and sometimes spectacularly rejected. Why Brie presents perfection and Gabrielle represents rebellion. Lynette Scavo embodies the burnout of suburban motherhood. She is the character who exposes what feminist economics Arlie Hochschild terms the second shift, the unpaid domestic labor that women perform after their actual jobs. Lynette abandons her high-powered career to raise her children, a narrative anchored in 1990s and early 2000s anxieties about working mothers. But Desperate Housewives doesn't romanticize her sacrifice. Instead, it shows the chaos, loss of autonomy, and mental health fallout. The supermarket scene, where our children form like a miniature mob, highlights how suburban motherhood is often labor without recognition, performed in public, yet judged relentlessly. Later, when Lynette steals her son's ADHD medication just to cope with her responsibilities, the show critiques a system where mothers are expected to do everything flawless without complaint. Lynette's storyline is the most grounded critique of suburban gender roles. It shows how the architecture of urban family life demands not just performance but endurance. Susan Myers is the relatable mess, the suburban woman framed as enduring because of her clumsiness and emotional vulnerability. But even Susan is a construction. Her character appeals to what Yvonne Tasker and Diane Negra call post-feminist femininity. The idea that flaws can be charming as long as they do not disrupt the broader gender expectation of nurturing romantic womanhood. Susan's awkwardness is acceptably because it is harmless, unlike Gabrielle Brie. Her rebellion is symbolic rather than structural. She can sneak into a neighbor's house but not question the suburban framework itself. Our identity is built around the pursuit of romantic attachment. Mike Delfino becomes a narrative anchor. This reflects the persistent suburban tropes that a woman's story is incomplete without a man's attention. If gender defines the character, the suburban defines the narrative. Wisteria Lane is a self-contained world where secrets ferment under the pressure of image maintenance. The neighborhood surveils women constantly through gossip, judgment, and the visual closeness of houses. The women of Wisteria Lane both enforce and suffer from this system. They polish each other's choices while struggling privately with identity, autonomy, and desire. Urban theorists argue that suburban design encourages isolation while maintaining the illusion of community. Desperate Housewives weaponizes this insight. Front lawns are perfect, but what happens inside the homes are messy, painful, and often explosive. Wisteria Lane therefore becomes a microcosm of gendered urban life, ordered on the surface, but deeply chaotic underneath. Desperate Housewives critiques the gendered performance embodied in suburban life. Performances shaped by architecture, culture, and community surveillance. Brie, Lynette, Susan, Gabrielle are not simply characters. They are embodiments of the roles women are expected to play within the urban/suburban machine. Through humor, melodrama, and satire, the show exposes the truth. The perfect neighborhood is built on imperfect expectations, and the women who live there, desperate as they may be, are ultimately trying to reclaim identity in a world that scripts every move
we're throwing down.
they make.
You are crazy. Just being practical. Isn't it better to settle this once and for all rather than endure all this alpha mom crap until our kids graduate? Come on. I'll even let you take the first shot. I don't have time for this.
Yeah, I didn't think so. And just so you know, next spring when we do Bambi, his mother's gonna take a slug to the heart and you're gonna like it.